All right, so here we go. Yesterday we got into the middle of some matrix multiplication, and that can be a little bit tricky. So we're ready for letter 2C, and we're going to multiply D times E. Now, before I get it all written out, I'm going to check to see if I can even do it. Because do you remember? Sometimes you can't. So what are the dimensions? Look at matrix D. What are the dimensions of matrix D? 2 by 2. 2 rows, 2 columns. All right, what are the dimensions of matrix E? Uh-oh, is this a doable problem? No. No. So you are not going to be able to multiply, so the answer to C is no solution. All right, now what about problem D? All right, what are the dimensions of D? You already told me, I'm doing DG this time. You already told me D was 2 by 2. All right, what are the dimensions of G? Okay, now this one I'm going to be able to do, right? And my answer will be another 2 by 3. So here comes the 2 by 2. I'm going to write down my matrices now. All right, and I know my answer is going to be another 2 by 3. So I'm going to have 2 rows and 3 columns of numbers. Because when I check for my multiplication, always, it's, these two have to match, and then these two give me the size of my answer. Okay? So, I'm going to start right here. This number right here, whatever goes there, is in which position in the matrix? Row 1, column 1, right? Call that the 1, 1 spot. So row 1, column 1. So I write down the numbers in row 1. Next to them, I write the numbers in column 1. And then I multiply each pair and add them up. So I think that first number is going to be -2. Would you agree with that? Okay, this is what I was doing in the video, right? At that point, if you were zoning out, too bad, so sad. This is, we gotta not do this. All right, so now I'm ready to find this number. Well, what position is that? First row, second column. So now I'll write down my first row, but now I need my second column, which is 2, 1. So multiply each pair and add them together. So that number is a 3. All right, so next one, I'm just working my way across. This is first row, third column. So first row is still 1, 1. But third column is 3, 0. So that adds up to another 3. All right, now I'm ready to get my second row. So this guy is the second row, first column. So now I'm going to my second row. So I'm going to write down my 3 and -2. And then my first column is 1 and -3. So what does that end up being? Multiply each pair and add them up. It looks like it's a 9. Okay, now second row, second column. So second row, there's my 3 and -2 again. And then my second column, which is 2, 1. Remember, you always get your rows first. Rows out of this matrix, columns out of this one. So what is that? 4. And finally, second row, third column. So second row again, 3, -2. And then my third column, which is 3, 0. Add them up, it looks like it's a 9. Remember, as I said in the video, there's no patterns in these at all. The numbers are going to be completely random. So you can't predict what's going to happen. You just have to go through and multiply. Okay? All right, let's see, what was that? DG. Now we're ready for GE. All right, what are the dimensions of G? G is a 2 by 3, okay. What are the dimensions of E? Uh-oh. We can multiply. And the answer is going to be another 2 by 3. Okay, I'm going to have to erase some of this because this is going to be big. Erase some of this here. All right, so what's G? G is and E. Okay, there we are. So we said our answer was going to be a 2 by 3, so I'm going to have these blanks to throw in. Remember, 2 by 3 means 2 rows, 3 columns. All right, this is going to be bigger, but you do it exactly the same way. This is the 1, 1 spot. Here's my first row, and here's my first column. So I write down my row, 1, 2, 3. And now I write down my column next to that, 1, 1, -1. Everybody see what I'm doing? Now I multiply the pairs and add them up. So more arithmetic here. Did you get 0?
Yes.
All right, that's okay, that's fine, that's fine. 0 is fine. Okay, so now I'm going to move over here. So what am I going to do to find this one? Row 1, but column 2. So here's row 1 again, 1, 2, 3. And then here's column 2. I always circle them to kind of focus my eyes, but you don't have to. That's not like a rule or anything. So to do this arithmetic, you get 6?
Yes.
And then row 1 again, but this time column 3. What does that one add up to? 18. Remember, 1 times 0 is 0. So it looks like 18. All right, try the bottom row by yourself now. You're going to do exactly what I just did, but instead of using 1, 2, 3, you're going to use -3, 1, 0. So use -3, 1, 0 with each column. So -3, 1, 0 times these 3 numbers, and then times these 3 numbers, and then times these 3 numbers, and see what you come up with. the bottom row for me? Colin Cloud, what'd you get down here?
I got -2, 5, and 3.
-2, 5, and 3, let's check that. -2 is correct, 5 is correct, and 3 is correct. Yep, that's exactly right. Anybody not get -2, 5, and 3 on that bottom? All right, one more. F times G. Now, before we write everything out, let's figure out if we can even do F times G. So F is how big?
2 by 2.
2 by 2. G is how big? 2 by 3. Can they be multiplied? Yep, and the answer is going to be another 2 by 3. So here we go. I have F and G. And that's going to be another 2 by 3. Two rows, 3 columns. There we go. All right, so start off with row 1, column 1. So row 1, column 1. And then we'll go to row 1, column 2. All right, so go ahead, I'll do it up here too. You go ahead and see if you can get this by yourself. Grant, what'd you get right here in the 1, 1 spot?
-16.
That's what I got. Anybody wanna argue with that? I think that's right. -1 and -15, I think that's exactly right. Okay, Xavier, what'd you get right here in the 1, 2 spot? First row, second column. You forgot to do that one? Oh, okay. Well, you do that one real quick. We're gonna go on. I want you to get one done by yourself. All right, Samaya, did you get this one yet? Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a couple more minutes. I'm not gonna give you any more answers, and I'm not taking answers from the same people. Some of the rest of you are gonna have to get going on this. First time, or take a row, whatever row you're doing, times whatever column you're doing, depending on the position of the number you're looking for.
I think I got it.
You got this one?
Is it -3?
Let's see, is she right? -3? She is. That is indeed a -3. Eddie,
For the second one, I got 3.
for this one?
Yeah.
Okay, that was Xavier's problem, but we'll go ahead and put 3 and Xavier can pick another one from the bottom down. He's gonna do it. Is 3 right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so Xavier, can you do this one, Xavier? This one's yours. So take a minute, work on it, and then tell me what the answer is. Nobody else tell me this is Xavier's. Okay? Jeanette, you got this one. You got it yet or not? Okay, we can work on that one. And And Sharon, you got this one.
9.
Oh, you already did. She says 9. Let's see if she's right. Yes, she is. That's perfect. 9 is correct. So Xavier, you're taking the numbers in the second row, times the numbers in the first column, and you said, I got negative 3. Wait a minute.
I think it's 3, just 3.
No, I think I switched that around. It's 1 negative 3. Yes, you're right, Xavier. It is 3. You are right. Yep. Okay, Jeanette, what about here in the middle? Did you get anything yet? 6, correct. So there is the right answer. All right, we're done with matrix multiplication in our notes. There's some in the homework, and you can always go back and redo these problems. Copy them down another sheet of paper and redo them if you need more practice. Going back and forth for multiplication. Okay, we all set with that? All right, so now we've got 2 more parts to this section. What section was this? 7-2. We have 2 more parts to it. One part that we have to do still is this exercise number 3 here. What looks different about the way the problems in number 3 are written? They don't have a bracket. This is called a matrix, okay? When they're just vertical lines, it kind of looks like absolute value. When it looks like absolute value, it's what we call a determinant. And your job is simply to evaluate that determinant. Now, we're going to evaluate 2 by 2s. This is a 2 by 2. And 3 by 3s by hand. If we have anything bigger than that, I will show you how to do it on your calculator. All right, because that can get a little complicated. But pretty easy to evaluate determinants. Here's how you do it. The answer to this is just going to be a number, one number. And you calculate the number, starting right here where my finger is. You take 1 times 4, so you multiply that diagonal, 1 times 4, and then you multiply this diagonal, 3 times 2, and then you subtract them. So the answer is 4 minus 6, which is -2. That's all there is to evaluating a 2 by 2 determinant. Now, right now, and it's completely fair of you to be saying, Mrs. Ford, okay, you're showing me how to manipulate all these things, and use, what in the world's all this mean? There are real life applications of everything we're doing. In fact, I was just helping a kid in finite math, and matrices were part of it. When you read a word problem, you set up a matrix and do things to it. The determinant is a big deal in matrix land, and we're learning how to evaluate them. So right now, you're just taking my word for it, that this is stuff to know. Okay, so what's the value of this one? Well, start right here, and you multiply this diagonal first, so 2 times 7. Then you multiply this one, 3 times -1. And then you remember when they are determinants, you subtract those 2 numbers. Remember, when we did multiplication, we added them. This time we subtract. So it's 14, did you get 17? Because that actually becomes a +3, because it's minus a negative. So 14 plus 3 is 17. All right, go ahead and evaluate C. It's exactly the same thing. Evaluate letter C. These, some of you are going to be able to do in your head. You're not even going to need really to write these down, the 2 by 2s. What did you come up with? -11 is what you should have gotten. because you're taking -1 times 3. Always start with that one right there. Always start with that one. And then you're taking 2 times 4, and you're subtracting them. So -3 minus 8 gives you -11. Okay? So again, if you can do that in your head, I'm perfectly okay with it. You do not need to show work for that. Now, for the next one, you're going to have to show work because it is bigger. And it is done in a slightly different way. All right, so everybody got the 2x2s under your belt? All right, so now we're looking at the 3x3. By the way, you can only do determinants if the matrix is square. So that was one of your vocab words. What does square mean?
2 by 2, 3 by 3.
The dimensions are the same, so same number of rows as columns. So you can find a determinant of a 2x2. You can find a determinant of a 3x3. You cannot find a determinant of a 2x3. And if you try, your calculator will say error. You can't do it.
We need our calculator for this one.
No, we're gonna do this one by hand. So you're responsible for knowing how to do the 2x2s and the 3x3s by hand. All right, so here's the process. There's more than one way to do it. I think the easiest way to do this is to take the first 2 columns, these are columns up and down, and simply recopy them outside the determinant. So take 1, 0, 1 and write it right here, and then take 2, -1, -2 and write it right here. Don't be mixing things around, just cut these out and paste them right here. Cut these 2 columns, just 2, only the first 2, and paste them right here. Okay? Now, always start right here. Just like I do the arrow there, we always start right here. So you start right here, and you're going to multiply these 3 numbers together. All right, so what do I get when I multiply all 3 of those numbers?
-1.
-1. Now, step over 1 and multiply these 3 numbers together. 6. And then step over 1 more, this is the last one, multiply these 3 together.
0.
Now, total those up. So the total of all these, I call them down diagonals because I was going down the matrix. All those adds up to 5. Not done. Now we gotta go the other direction. Remember on these guys, how we did that diagonal? And then we did this one? Okay, that's what we're gonna do. We did this, the downs, now we're gonna do the ups. So multiply these together, what do you get? Ooh, watch it. 0. Remember, times z by 0 is 0. What do you get here? -6. And what do we get here? 0. That's a huge arithmetic mistake that's made a lot. Remember, if you're multiplying by 0, you get 0.
I couldn't see my 2 because I put the arrow on the 1.
Okay? Got it? Now, total those up. What do you get? Well, that's an easy one. Those add up to -6. So I want you to think about what you did with your 2x2s. You did this diagonal, and you did this diagonal, and then you subtracted them. So we've got these diagonals add up to 5. These diagonals add up to -11. Guess what we're going to do with those 2 numbers? Subtract. So 5 minus -6 is 11. And that's the answer to the question. Now it's easy, but there's a lot of steps to it, and you have to really be careful with your arithmetic. finding, we're doing problem E, we're finding the determinant. So who remembers how I started the last one?
You added the, you cut and pasted.
I cut and paste, so I cut these out right here, these guys right here, and I just paste them right here. Don't change a thing. Leave them in the same order. Cut them out, paste them on. Now always start here, please, always, everything starts there. So multiply, 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 what do we get?
36.
36.
Zero.
Multiply, 0. Multiply, 1. Add them up, that total is 37. Other direction, here we go. That multiplication is -8. This one is 0, and this one is 6. Total them up, and that's -2. Isn't it -2?
Yeah.
So now I take my two totals and subtract them. So the value of the determinant is 39. All right, one more. Try this one on your own. Let's see what we can come up with. We're doing it exactly the same way. It's exactly the same kind of problem.
Can I use the restroom?
Is it an emergency?
Yeah,
Leave your phone here.
it's in my
And
backpack.
then hurry up. No stopping at mom's office. Just go to the bathroom. All right, go to it. Let's see what you can come up with.
I'm just trying to find sorry. I'm making my mistakes.
There is a lot of room for arithmetic errors, so we do have to be careful. No, it is not hard, it's easy. But there is a lot of room for carelessness, so be careful.
This is gonna be something else.
Sure, let's see if that's it.
You have an answer, Eli? What?
-24.
-24. I don't know, I'm gonna work it out, we're gonna see if we get positive 16.
Seems right.
Anybody have anything else? We have 16 so far and a -24. Eddie? -18?
Maybe I did this wrong. I got -16.
I got negative.
You got -16 also, so there's 2 of those, okay?
Maybe I did this
Wait, what are you talking about? Like, it's the final answer?
Yes,
Oh, I got -19.
-19.
For F. The entire answer?
The final answer.
Yeah, wait, is 20? We'll just throw another number out there.
What?
21. Well, because.
All right, I've taken
One of those
numbers from
got
about
me.
all of you, and we only have 2 that match, so.
I
all
got
right,
-16.
This is, you got another -16?
Yeah.
Ooh, we got 3 with the same one, let's see that. That might be right. All right, multiply, multiply, multiply. 0, 0, 0.
Oh, that's where I messed up.
Multiply, -8. Multiply 12. Your total for your downs should be 4.
Yeah.
All right. So multiply, multiply, multiply. Positive 18. Positive 20, or 2, positive 2. Positive 0.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my total is 20. I subtract these numbers, so those of you who said negative 16 are right.
We can't subtract it that way.
So Kishad has a great question. Did you do 20 minus 4? Okay, it is always, when you subtract, it's downs minus ups. So that's why I always want you to start here and do this first, because then it's this number minus this number. Always. So, did you find the mistakes, those of you that got these other random numbers? Okay, and they were simple mistakes, right? Just carelessness, we have to be careful with that. All right, we have one more thing to talk about, and then I'll hand your test back, because it's pretty easy. But part 4 says, find the inverse of the matrix. We are only going to do 2 by 2s by hand. We will be doing 3 by 3s on our calculator, but we'll worry about that another day. For now, we are finding the inverse of this matrix. Remember that an inverse is something that cancels something else out. So like 5 plus negative 5 is 0. These are called additive inverses. They add and cancel each other out. 5 times 1/5 is 1. Multiplicative inverses. They multiply and cancel each other out. What we are finding here is the multiplicative inverse. We're finding the matrix that if we times it by this one, they'll cancel out. It's easier than you think, but it's steps you have to remember. That's what makes this hard, is all these steps you have to remember. First step, find the determinant. We just did that. How do you find the determinant of a 2 by 2? Multiply, subtract. So what is the determinant of this matrix? 5 minus negative 2, did you get 7? Your answer is going to need that 7, so hang on to it, okay? Now, first step, find determinant. Second step, build a new matrix. And the new matrix you build, it's called the adjoint, but that's not important for you. The new matrix that you build is built by taking these two numbers, see where my fingers are? And you physically flip them. So the 5 goes here and the 1 goes here. So these two right here, where my fingers are, physically switch places. You change the sign of the other two. So see how that's a negative 1? It doesn't move, but it becomes a positive 1. See how this guy is a positive 2? He doesn't move, but he becomes a negative 2. Negative 2. Okay? So these two stay the same numbers, but they switch spots. These two stay in the same spots, but they change their sign. So negative becomes positive, positive becomes negative. Okay? Now, take this new matrix that you just built and divide them all by your determinant. So your inverse almost always is going to be full of fractions. So 5/7, negative 2/7, 1/7, 1/7, and that's your inverse. So that's all there is to it. 2 steps. Alright, so let's go through those steps again with this next one. And then we'll let you do one by yourself. Hopefully we'll have good results. Alright, so what did I tell you? What's the first thing we need to do? Find the determinant. And it's a 2 by 2, so that's easy enough. The determinant is this diagonal minus this diagonal. So won't my determinant just be 4 minus 0 or 4? Did everybody get 4 for the determinant? So now I build my new matrix. So these two numbers, we call this the main diagonal, where my fingers are, they switch places, so 4 and 1. Now, 0 is 0, so I don't need to worry about plus or minus on that one, but negative 3 becomes positive 3. Now, does everybody follow where these numbers came from? Now, I simply take all of them and divide by 4. And then clean it up. So 4 over 4 is 1. 3 over 4. 0. And 1 over 4. And there's your inverse. Everybody got it? All right, I hesitate to say this, but let's try the next one on our own, and we'll compare answers, and hopefully we don't have too many different answers. We're finding the inverse now of this matrix. So let's do it in parts. Tell me what you get for the determinant when you do the determinant. Shout it out. 2?
I got 0.
0? For the determinant?
Wait, no,
it's
10. 10, not 0.
Is it 10 or 2? 'Cause I'm not good
10.
at subtracting.
Okay.
It's negative.
2 times
Or is
3
it, oh, it adds, so 10.
minus 4 times negative 1. Remember, you multiply, and subtract.
I did the same.
So those of you that said 10, you got it.
What if we did the same thing backwards and 2?
Then it's going to be negative 10 and it will be wrong. You've got to do this first, always. That comes first. It's a subtraction problem, so the order matters. Okay? Now, build your new matrix. Let's see if we can remember how to do that. Build your new matrix right there. I built mine. Does mine look like yours? So then the last step is just divide everything by your 10 and then recopy it with anything simplified that can simplify. So the top row doesn't change, but this is negative 2/5, and is that a 2? And 1/5. We've gone through a couple of new things today. Are you keeping straight what operations? Did you take good notes so you remember? You multiply here, add here, subtract here, whatever. All right, one more, then I'll shut up for the day. Step 1, find the determinant. Find it for me, tell me what you get. I got a 0 up here. 0. Okay, wait a second. The determinant, let's double check and make sure it is 0 first. It would be -1 times -8, 2 times 4, and subtracted. So 8 minus 8, I think it is 0. Now, that means there is no inverse. Can somebody tell me why it means there's no inverse? Eli?
All the numbers over 0.
Exactly. So remember, what do you do with your determinant? Don't you divide everything by it? So if that determinant comes out to be 0, then you're not going to be able to do this. Would you agree? Because you can't divide by 0. So guess what? No inverse. We're done with 7-2, and that homework is due on Monday. Yep, Monday. Next class, which is that tomorrow, next Monday, we will practice for kind of a wrap-up quiz over 7-1 and 7-2. So we'll practice
On when?
on Monday. We'll practice on
When would
Monday.
our quiz be?
The next time I see you after that.
Miss
All
Warren,
right.
you checked my birthday bonus that quiz.
Okay.
We can have a little birthday bonus.
No, is it your birthday today?
My birthday's on Sunday.
Okay, what I'm gonna do now is hand back both tests so that